Sue Tabbal-Yamaguchi, and her title is Bridges Across the Pacific. And here's Sue.
Aloha. My name is Sue Tabbal-Yamaguchi, and I'm honored to share with you a beautiful and symbolic teaching lesson that blends the traditions of Japan and Hawaii. My theme, Bridges Across the Pacific, is inspired by the strength and elegance of torii gates, the significance of Hawaiian tea leaf lei, and the meaning carried by symbolic flowers. Through this lesson, we explore how those elements connect cultures and create pathways of appreciation and respect. I'm excited to share, and I hope you enjoy.
I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Sue Tabbal-Yamaguchi. In 2013, she achieved her Certified Floral Designer, and in 2015, she became a member of the American Institute of Floral Designers, AIFD. In 2016, she received her European Master Certificate, EMC, in Belgium. She has also competed in competitions and won several top honors. I am so pleased to know her. Recently, in 2022 and 2025, she also did and presented on the main stage at the AIFD symposiums. I would like to introduce my good friend and esteemed designer, Sue Tabbal-Yamaguchi. Let's give a big round of applause for her.
Hi, guys. Are we ready for lunch? That's usually the first thing I tell my designers when they come into work. So what's for lunch? And luckily, we are going to have lunch after this. But let me take care of business first. Everybody say cheese. Say cheese. All right. The reason why I did that is because I'm not sure if anybody knows, but this is actually the first time I'm presenting by myself. I've always presented with Lois and Hitomi and Brenna Kwan, but this is actually my very first time. So I'm honored to be here, and thank you to the HFNA board for allowing me to share my passion, which I've been doing florals for about 30 years, or 30 plus years actually now. And I started as actually in selling, in a department store. And then I got my real estate license, and then I went into nursing, and then I opened a business, and then decided to do flowers because everybody kept opening my doors. Do you sell flowers? Do you sell flowers? And I said, well, I guess I do now. And that's how it started. So I originally started self-taught, and my very first teacher was Phil Relota. My next teacher was Hitomi Gilliam, who I met, I think it was over 14 years ago. And she's been a solid rock for me, my mentor. So I have a story as far as what I'm going to do. My theme is Bridges Across the Pacific. And we had to come up with a theme. And so I do have a story, but I want to tell you the mechanics first, and then the reason why I'm doing all of these things. Does that sound okay? Okay, so we were given the task to work with 3 bamboos, not 20 or 22. And so we had to come up with a topic. And I thought, oh, okay, well, I first went to Japan, this year with my son and my husband. That was the very first time, and I was so impressed with the torii gates, which you know how they're big and they're really strong, and it's like an entrance to, you know, like a sanctuary, right? You go in, you do your blessings and things like that. So I was very inspired. So that was the first thing that came into my mind. And then they said we had to have a connection to Hawaii. And I said, well, perfect, because there's a lot of Japanese in Hawaii. Bridges across the Pacific, that's how it started. So from there, I had to think of, okay, what am I gonna do with my design? I sketch my designs first. I come up with a concept. I sketch it. I've done so many sketches, it's ridiculous. I have tons of scratch paper all over the place. My husband and my kids are like, throw these away. I was like, no, they're my inspirations. But I finally put them in a book. So from there, I always thought, okay, what do I like most? I love trees. I must have been a tree in my life before, because I love trees. And trees, they're so dramatic and inspiring, and they're so free spirit. You know, it's so relaxing. You look up and you're like, wow, you know? But then I found that trees also grow shadows. And that's part of, I think, my nursing side, is I like to nurture people and I like to take care of people. So I think that's why I love trees so much. So my structure is right outside, and you'll see the pine, the ironwood. And ironwood these days are coming so popular. I do a lot of event work. My main business is weddings, and I do small weddings and I do big weddings. And a lot of times my brides would be like, I want something that's different. So when they tell me, okay, I'm gonna have it at such and such place, it's gonna be here, blah, 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 a lot of our locations are usually near the ocean. And so you have to remember that when you're outside in your location, when it comes to a certain time, the wind picks up. There's a strong wind that goes through. So you have to make sure that your foundation for whatever you're building is strong. So on these poles, the 3 poles, there is a 24-inch stake that is staked in, and it's staked in good. You have to make sure it's solid. The bamboo is hollow, right? So you can push the bamboo through, and then you have a support stake on the outside, and you zip tie it. But sometimes if you're not gonna do a design that has flowers on the bottom to hide it, then my trick was, if I had a stake and I knew I was gonna have a bamboo, I'd get the thicker stake, the tent stakes. And from the tent stakes, I would stake that in. Those are like 30-something inches. I stake it in, make sure it's solid. I shove it through, but then I kick the pole so that it's touching the stake, and that secures it. Because you're gonna have like a torii gate, right? So that secures it from going back and forth. So you have to know what you're setting up, what your conditions are, and the things that you're using for setup. I do that a lot. I have a wooden arch that is hollow in the center. So we do that if we have to not have any flowers in the front. We kick the pole so it's touching the stake, so it secures it. I don't know if a lot of you do that, but that's what we do. And then we put flowers. But if you're gonna do heavy flowers, make sure you have one on the inside and one on the outside. And you have to make sure that stake is solid into the ground. So anyways, with that, I have the ironwood and the trees, obviously, because I love trees, right? So I wanted to build something like that. In between that is tea leaf lace. And I don't know if you watch my Instagram, but I was weaving tea leaf lace for a very long time. And it was, I estimated, I thought I would, yes?
How do you count the second stake?
So you have your first, and then you put your covering in. You measure it. You mark where your stake's gonna be on the outside. You take out that pole, and then you stick it in, and then you put the pole back, and then you can zip tie it. Yeah, and that will secure it. So in between that is tea leaf lace. And I have to tell you that it's not a concept I came up with. It's a concept that my Hanai sister, Brenna Kwan, came up with, and we did this in symposium, and I thought it was the coolest thing, but I also found that it tied in with what I'm doing. So that's the reason why I'm doing it. So I made tea leaf lace for days, and they're on rows like this. So, any of you ever made a tea leaf lei? Not a lot of you. Okay, so Tessie has some tea leaf lace, and we're actually going to make it right now. So they're going to pass that out. But before that, can I have some tea leaf too? Because I forgot I needed some. Mahalo. Let me show you different ways of prepping the tea leaf. You can either cut the bone, and you can slide it on the table, and the bone comes off. Then you can cut off the bone. The other thing you can do, and then you cut it in half. The other thing you can do is you can take your time. If you're watching TV, you can just cut the leaf against the bone. Just like that, on both sides. I'm kind of anal, so I like it where the straight side's on one side, so that I stack it together so I can just grab it and freeze it. The other way you can do this, you have the tip, you cut the tip, and you just tear it down, just like that. And then from there, you can just clean it off. If you want the bone, that's up to you, but you can just cut off the bone. It takes a little bit more time, but you know what? I like things straight and nice and neat. You can do that. The way to prep the tea leaf to make a lei is either you can boil it. You grab a pile of it, put it in water, and you just simmer it maybe for like 30 seconds. It doesn't take long. The other way is you put it in a Ziploc bag and you freeze it. The other way is you can either iron it to make it soft and pliable, or you can put it in a microwave. And I found that if you put it in a microwave, you put it in a brown bag, you get a bunch, and you put it in a bag, close up the bag, steam it in there for, you have to test your microwave, but it's less than a minute. So you just test it little by little. If it's 10 seconds, 10 seconds, and then from there you'll know how, you don't want your leaves to be crispy. Okay, so for those of you who have not made it and you have the leaves, you're gonna grab 2 leaves, and you're gonna make a loop, just like that. The other part is you need probably someone to help you hold it, or you can use your toe, and that's what I did on stage is we used Brenna's toe. It was pretty funny. But the key point is just remember you're going to twist the leaf to the right side of the leaf. You're going to get the left side of the leaf and you're going to twist it to the right. And this is the tricky part. You're going to cross it over to the left. So you're going to twist the leaf to the right and cross it over to the left. Just keep twisting to the right, cross it over to the left. And then you'll make your lei. Any questions on that? So when you get to the end, and let me just do this one real quick, you're going to connect them. And to connect them, you're going to grab your other leaf. So let's just say I'm going to connect this. You're going to attach the right side with the leaf, and you're going to overlap a little bit, and you're going to have a little tail. Then you're going to grab that leaf that you put on, you're going to grab it together and then twist it to the right, and then overlap to the left. Same thing for the other side. You're going to grab your leaf, you're going to have a little tail, you're going to grab it all together, twist it to the right, flip to the left. Twist to the right, flip to the left. You guys gotta dance with me too. Twist to the right. Anyways, that's the introduction to that. If you wanna know more and you wanna learn this, then you can come to my little station there with the trees. In my structure, there's different things that I'm gonna do. I love to use drills, and that's sort of like, I like to be different. I'm lazy, so zip ties is my best friend. I don't know, has any of you seen where you can straighten the wire? Some of you haven't. So I just bought this from Home Depot. It's actually black wire. Europe has a lot of black wire. I love black wire. But I'll show you how I do this. So sometimes we want like straight wire and we can't get it, right? And we can get it as long as we want. If you have it on a roll, you can make it as long as you want. This is a drill. I got this from Home Depot. It's like 50 bucks, cheap. So impact drill doesn't have the teeth. Drills have teeth. You see these little teeth that it comes out and it holds it. You need a drill to do this. So I would put the wire in and make sure that it's really tight. I grab my pliers. You see how it's not straight right now? But doing this also makes your wire stronger, believe it or not. So if you want strong wire and you don't have it around and you have rolls, and just drill it. And eventually it'll come straight. And it'll make it stronger by doing that. Now you'll feel the difference. I'll pass this around so you can feel the difference, how strong it is. The reason why I did that is I'm going to be using it on water tubes. And he told me does it with wire. I do it with zip ties because that's my best friend. Because when you do event work, you have to be fast. So, and plus it's strong. I attach the wire. I use U-glue. I love U-glue. I attach the wire with to the tube, and then I would zip tie it on. I zip tie it in two places, one on the top, one on the bottom. I like to be neat, cut your tips. Because I'm going to use one wire, and I don't want it to fall out, I bend the bottom so it acts as a support. So it doesn't, so your wire doesn't come out at all. Then I'm gonna wrap it in moss like this and use bind wire and just wrap it. And you know, being that I have a tree, you don't have to be neat. You just wrap it. Just wrap it. And using the same technique what Lois did, you leave a tail, you wrap it around and you tie it at the end. So the wire is up right now, but when I put it into the bamboo, I'm gonna bend it just like that. I'm gonna make a hole into the bamboo, stick it in, and it's gonna lock. I actually will go at an angle. I'll bring it down a little bit, poke it in, and it'll just rest. And you'll see some there, but during when I have the workshop, I'll have whoever wants to do it actually drill and poke it in yourself. And you'll see how sturdy it is. If you're gonna do something that's organic as far as design, this might be the fastest. It's just a lot of prepping. The other thing you can do with a wire is you can wrap. You know how he told me does it by hand? Since I'm lazy. Did I say that already, that I'm lazy? I'll cut off a strip of U-glue. I made my wire. I'm gonna put the U-glue on the wire. Take it off. And you can do this with any kind of material. You can do it with yarn, you can do it with ribbon, you can do, I mean, pretty much anything. And then I would wrap it around a few times onto the U-glue. Put it in my drill. Same thing. And then I'm just going to drill away. And I'm going to rub my fingers onto the wire, and it's going to wrap the raffia on the wire. And you can go back to make bigger areas, and then you can go small, thin, whatever. And then at the end, you just finish off with U-glue, and you start another one. So it depends however length you want it, you can do this. Questions on this? Am I going too fast? One thing about U-glue is I found, and I use a lot of it for my event work, I love the convenience of the dots, but I love the strips the most because I found that it's stronger for some reason. It's just way stronger. Going back to my water tubes, I have one here. Pretend this one has the moss. I'll show you how I do it. I find the drill bit, and Alberto helped me find the size. Thanks, Alberto. Pretend this is the bamboo. I'm going to drill it. Drill it in. Bend my wire. I bent it down. Where's my hole? And I'm going to stick it inside, and it's just going to hold just like that. Easy, right? So you can do it with anything. And then I'll fill it up with water, and then I'll put my flower in it. So it's freestanding, basically. And remember, if you're going to do competition, make sure your water tubes are filled to the top. It should not be halfway. Anytime you do competition and you get judged, make sure if you use water tubes, make sure it's all the way to the top. All right. The other thing that I'm putting into my display is I'm making these big kokodama balls. There is a plastic plate in here. You can use a bowl if you wanted to. So pretend this is a bowl, lovely bowl. I form my chicken wire into a ball. So it depends on how big your bowl is, right? You make it bigger if it's bigger. And you put it into your plate. And then you cover this whole thing with, you tape it down with Oasis waterproof tape just to secure it. And then I covered it with moss. So this can also, if you wanted something natural, and I did this for a wedding because she wanted just kokedama balls. So we did it in a vase, we put chicken wire, we did the moss around it, and then we just poked in flowers, and it already had a water source. If you know that it's not gonna have a water source, you can use the water tubes. Sorry. Pretend this is a flower. I'm gonna put it in water tubes, and then I'm just gonna poke it in. I promise I've done it before. Poke it in just like that. So this is gonna be on the bottom. So you can actually poke the hole first, and you can use bigger stems if you want it. It depends on how big your chicken wire is. But we've done this on an aisle, and it was actually very beautiful. She didn't want a container, she wanted something natural. It was on grass, so we just had a few blooms on that. And then we'll have fun. If whoever wants to join me, we'll have fun poking in flowers there. The other one that I'm gonna do is, I forgot to bring it, but I was gonna have the wires made sharp. And I have Boderex, you know, those heavy stems. And I was actually going to drill through it, make a wire as like a to act as like a screw and go through the bamboo and then secure it. So I would have bow derrick standing on instead of always laying it down because it's heavy, right? So that's another technique that we'll be doing. And this is another one too that I think we're all making kokedamas, and I don't have to go through how to make a kokedama. But the only thing about this is I've made a wire. I've done this technique before. I did an article for Florist magazine where I had like a U shape, and the water tube was attached to the side, and I was working with solid wood, so I was able to, it was cut shorter, drill holes into the wood, and I just stuck it in, and that was my water source. So I don't know if anybody saw that, but it was in Florist Review magazine, I don't know, a long time ago. But I was asked to make a Tropical Nouveau design. But that's how I did it. So I got the same idea. I got the kokedama, but I wanted the kokedama to be on my bamboo pole. So I'm gonna stick this through the kokedama and attach it to my poles. So this will act as like a holder. Either you can go this way, you can go the other way, whichever way you decide to attach it. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just the way that you want to do it. You just have to be yourself and what's comfortable, right? Do you like that idea? Okay. Oh, and I have to thank the farm. Who was it that provided these? These are they're called twinkles. Hilo Orchid Farm? Yeah, I mean, it's so amazing. So we're gonna take this one out and we're gonna make a kokedama with it. But we noticed that there was some kind of bark that was neatly placed and then they planted it to grow like this. But isn't that beautiful? I mean, it's dancing. But it's called Suki Margaret Hoff. But I think they call it like a twinkle. Am I correct? Twinkle? Okay, we'll call it twinkle. You'll notice two different types of moss that we're using. This is actually moss from Greenpoint Nurseries, and they will sell it to me. Yeah, Neil? But if not, you can use the moss that, super moss, which I used sheet moss. So that's the two different types of moss. If you want it fresh, I'm not sure if Greenpoint will sell it, honestly. But it's nice. But we'll be working with this today. I hope you liked the show. Thank you. I'll put you on Instagram. You guys will be famous. Aloha, my name is Sue Tabbal-Yamaguchi, and this is my creation, Bridges Across the Pacific. My inspiration came from when we were asked to do an inspiration of Liliuokalani Park. And when I looked at the park, there was all these torii gates. And that reminded me of going back to Japan and what the torii gates meant for me, where you would go in, you walk in, and it's a lot of blessings, or if you were praying for someone. So I created 3 poles, 2 that was a little close together and 1 that was farther apart, because I wanted the connection between Japan and Hawaii. But it became, the poles represents people, but it also became a representation of my past, my present, and my future. So within this, there's a connection of tea leaf leis, which is very strong in Hawaii. The leis represents a lot of strength and unity, where we use leis for birthdays and mourning or a gift, a welcome. My inspiration for the tea leaf lei actually I did a symposium in Palm Springs 2025 with Brenna Kwan, and she asked me to do a long tea leaf lay, which I believe I did about 200 feet for her for Palm Springs. So I decided that I wanted to do that here. And so that's where my inspiration came from, was Brenna. And so this I made about 240 feet of tea leaf lays, and I tied it to each pole as the connection. And we just went back and forth, back and forth. And this was actually used as a support for the flowers. So the flowers are to go into the tea leaf. We open up the tea leaf, we would thread the stem through, and then we would use water tubes for the water source here. And one thing neat about the tea leaf lay is you can actually move the tea leaf up or down, whichever way you want, so that way it acts as a support for the flower. In this arrangement, there are tropicals and a little bit of temperate flowers. Gloriosa reminds me of Japan, and these beautiful oncidiums. And inside here are little baby oncidiums, or they call them twinkles. They are made in pomanders and tied to the poles. Mechanics. Inside here, we made these little tubes that are covered in moss, and it has wired. We would drill into the poles, stick them in, and that was used for a water source for all the loose stems, the oncidiums, and they're placed in the water tubes in here. That makes a lot of vibrant. It brings out the arrangement, especially when we have these beautiful ironwood. I love trees, so I wanted to use the ironwood and the uluhe here. Very beautiful textures. My experience here for the Hefna Fresh Look 2025 was actually unexpected. I came with a concept of a design that I wanted to do, but when explaining all the mechanics and giving people different ideas of how I do things, water tubes, tea leaf lays, it wasn't about me, it became more about how could I teach people, and I let my incredible volunteers do the whole setup. I wanted them to learn and know how to do each mechanic, even using a drill, how to place the wire, how to support it, how to tie things, and just giving them ideas and the freedom to be able to explore something that is foreign to them so they can make it their own, and so they can create something that's beautiful.
Sue, I would like to extend our congratulations on your first standalone presentation.
Thank you.
We have a couple questions for you from our listening audience today. The first one is, the moss is a great material for kokedama balls. Did I say that correctly?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there any other material that could substitute the moss?
Oh, yeah. From the coconut tree, the coconut fibers, you can use pretty much anything you want. You can be creative. You can even use feathers, other flowers if you wanted to, dried materials, Pele's hair, anything.
Okay, question number 2. Are there other good ways to hide water tubes besides moss?
Yes, you can use bind wire, you can use ribbon. Like again, just like the kokedama, you can use the Spanish moss or the Pele's hair that we call it, um, raffia, any type of material that can weave or that is soft.
Or it can be a leaf.
Or yeah, exactly. It can be pretty much anything. It could even be like fabric, or if you wanted to use like color plastic, that's up to you.
Main
Or
thing is
cool paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of possibilities.
you just need to
the
cover your mechanics, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Whatever you do is that ties in with it, you can use it.
Okay, great. I have a question for you. How does all the construction and mechanical skill set apply to your very robust wedding business?
For one thing, if we are putting up an arch, you have to make sure that that is pretty solid, because a lot of our arches have a lot of flowers, and I don't take any chances, and I dream about it and I stress about it. That's why I use like tent stakes, or at one time I had to do a 10-foot arch, and it was going to be tons of flowers that is on the back and the front of the arch. And one of our vendor friends had this I think it was like 6 feet pole that was staked. And that was actually the big support, because we had a lot of stuff on it. So you just have to make sure that everything is solid and secure.
So I'm thinking that you've tested out a lot of different mechanics and structural challenges that you have answers for because you've had to in your business.
Yes, and it's so important, because I hear stories where recently there was an arch that fell on a grandmother
Oh my gosh.
because it wasn't structurally set. So, I mean, you just really have to make sure it's dangerous if it's not secure very good.
Yes. So I have a question for you too. So how important is teamwork in your wedding business? And how do you determine who's the lead designer on your team?
Well, in teamwork, you determine who the leader is and who the follower by looking at the strengths, the skills, and the roles each person brings to the task. The leader is usually the person with the experience, the vision, or the ability to guide the group, making decisions and keeping everyone organized. The followers are just as important. They're the support leader by contributing their skills, completing tasks, and helping the team reach its goals. Sometimes roles shift depending on the project. The best team chooses the leader based on who is the best suited for that specific job, while everyone else works together to support the shared vision.
So what would be your recommendations? Because we split people up into teams, and then of course in competition as well, they split up into their own teams. What is the best way, do you think, for a group that's either randomly put together or your group of friends? What's the best way, do you think, to determine how the division of work goes? What do you think?
Oh, when you
It's a tough one, isn't it?
It is, because when you're put in that situation, especially when you're in a competition, everyone's main goal is to win, right? And do their best. So a lot of people will think that they are the leader, and that their vision is more important to the other. And so, for instance, like my setup, yes, I was determined to be the leader because it was my project, but it later became everyone else's projects, right? Everybody had a role to play, but there has to be, I think, a commonality that you have to be able to say, okay, I am usually the captain of this ship, but it takes a lot of strength to step back and say, okay, I'm going to be the support of the captain. And that's how one could be a better supporter, a better leader, is by stepping back sometimes.
I think that's just super well said. And in fact, I saw that in some parts of a video that you're doing the teaching and allowing them, and you can see them nodding and understanding, which meant that that information was transferred and they were feeling confident that they can do it for you. And I saw that also in Noah's installations as well, is empowering your people to become what they can be. So that was truly illustrated in just watching some of your videos. Thank you so much.
And a lot of people didn't know how to do things, and they didn't know how to drill. We broke 2 drill bits by teaching people, but there is a way of drilling, you know, there's a button to go back and forth and things like that. But as with learning, you make mistakes, and that's how we learn.
Yeah, absolutely. So are there any other questions, Johnny?
I believe
on your end?
I believe that's all the questions that we have for now. Thank you so much, Sue.
Yeah, that was awesome.
We always
Thank you.
enjoy having you.